Hello there. In Sirui's 20mm T1.8 1.33 anamorphic, we got a Super 35 lens that I find way more interesting on a full-frame sensor in spite of its various aberrations and flaws. This is not professional advice, it's purely personal perspective. Thanks to its autofocus, plus Lumix's improvement on AF, I can walk around while filming myself, opening the door for an entirely different take on anamorphics from the rigid and stuffy film set way. This review was filmed on full frame, and I added an overlay for Super 35 over all the relevant parts of the video. I wouldn't normally do this, but I just enjoyed using it so much more on full frame than APS-C that it was hard to make a review only showing the normal stuff.
When the sun is in the sky, forget your troubles and just say hi. Hello, new day. Hello, new day. With a song in your heart. With a song in your heart. Make a brand new start.
On this super wide 20mm 1.33 anamorphic, we got the horizontal equivalent of a 13 to 14 millimeters. Yeah, the squeeze is subtle, but there aren't many anamorphics the average filmmaker can get their hands on that go this wide. This lens follows the lead of Sirui's 2024 40mm to 1.8 1.33 autofocus lens with all of the electronic insides. The lower squeeze factor makes it a great match for 16:9 sensors like Sony's, leading to almost 2.39 to 1 aspect ratio right out of the box, requiring just a little bit of crop. On a 3:2 sensor like I'm using, we end up with 2 to 1 aspect ratio. Just like the 40mm, we have geared focus and iris rings that only work when the camera is powering the lens. Both gears are pointless in this case, as A, the focus ring spins infinitely, so you can't really get marks unless you do it manually, and that sucks. And B, the iris ring has a dial on the side for enabling and disabling clicks between stops. I thought it was a cool feature on the 40mm, but now I care a little bit less. Minimum focus comes down to 40 centimeters or 1 foot and 4 inches, and since we're so wide with so little squeeze, even at minimum focus, we don't see much OFO bokeh. Front threads are 77mm, and the outer diameter is 80mm for clip-on matte boxes. This is a small and light lens, just under 500 grams or over 1 pound, and it comes in most mirrorless mounts, E, Z, X, MFT, and L, just missing out on RF, which I suspect might have something to do with licensing Canon's autofocus implementation. I felt the autofocus performance was pretty decent paired with the S1 II, quickly picking up subjects and keeping them sharp. I mean, this whole talking head section is on autofocus, so you can judge performance for yourself. Granted, I'm not moving much, but we're gonna move around. Considering Sirui's recent price slashing to counter the USA's tariffs on China, this lens retails at a higher price, between $700 and $800. It is readily available on Sirui's website or your favorite retailer. For the sharpness tests, I'm only using the Super 35 area instead of full frame. And here we have classic Sirui with a pretty clean image wide open at T1.8. When open all the way, the lens renders an image that's a bit soft in a positive, organic way. The focal length helps in keeping things in focus and extending your depth of field. Stopping it down clears up that softness that I just mentioned, and it becomes super clear. I wouldn't stop this further than T4. In terms of distortion, if we're using the lens as advertised on Super 35, we have a little bit of barrel distortion at the top and bottom of the frame and strong pincushion, but only at the very edges on the left and right. Nothing too hard to correct. When we step back to full frame, then we have a lot more distortion. The pincushion on the sides is quite strong, creating an almost warp travel effect, which was what caught my eye about this lens. I'm not gonna say this looks natural, but this is what I imagine when I think of POV setups. I wouldn't even dial this distortion down in post. The light fall off also helps focusing attention on the center of the frame, much like we look at the world. On a learning note, If you want to evaluate if a lens has light fall off, most common at the fastest stops or dubious image circles, load up your waveform monitor and point at an area with a constant exposure. As the waveform takes into account the luminance values from left to right of the frame, you will notice the curved ends of the darker edges. This lens is an extreme example, which makes it easy to demonstrate. Most lenses will improve this curve as you stop down, making illumination more even across the frame. The flares are blue or neutral. The one that I got is blue, and it's a super vivid blue-purple tone, coming in sharp and saturated pretty much without veiling glare. I can see why some people feel this is an artificial looking flare, but I like the cleanliness and clarity of it. The struggle here is, who is the audience for this lens? The mirrorless mounts in autofocus indicate an audience of solo filmmakers, content creators, and social media people, all of which have a smaller footprint and lighter and smaller gear. The geared rings hint towards cinema, but the gear's functionality is compromised in favor of the focus and iris by wire, which is more fit for impromptu filmmaking and photography. We could lose some weight by replacing the gears with rubber rings and probably cut down production costs a bit too. For example, let's compare this 20mm to Viltrox's 25mm Epic, which is a full-frame 1.33x squeeze and T2. The Viltrox is clearly oriented to cinema just by looking at its size and construction, which work better with a larger crew and a larger camera. The mount is also a cinema standard, and we have no autofocus. In terms of image rendering, this is what we see on each of them at minimum focus. So, even though they're somewhat similar on paper, super wide focal length, fast aperture, 1.33 anamorphic, each lens shapes the way that we work very differently and produces pretty different results. Since its breakthrough and pretty much creation of the low-budget anamorphic market, Sirui has been putting out lenses that don't elicit that much of an emotional response when compared to Atlas or Blazar, for example. I feel they are exploring ideas left aside by other manufacturers and trying to strike gold once more. Sadly, I'd prefer to see less aimless wandering and more focusing and refining one product line to the cravings of anamorphic filmmakers. I don't think this 20mm does that, but I don't think it's a bad lens either. It's just bland. What is your take? Let me know in the comments below. See you on the next one. Chito Fadens, out.